Hello and welcome to day 11 of my 30 days of belly dance. So yesterday we looked at the hip drop, setting up the foundations and the movement. Now we're going to look at adding some turns and some variety into our hip drops. So let's set ourselves up. We've got our nice posture. We're going to take 1 foot forward, come up on the heel and practice our hip drops. So we've got the small prep and release, 1 release, so up and down and release. So we're going to look now at adding some turns in. So for example, let me just show you, I might want to take 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8 to change, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8, and I'm back around again. So let's look at that, how we're going to add in that turn. So we've got prep, release, prep, release, prep, release. We're going to step forward, we're going to turn on a pivot, and then I'm just going to look back over my shoulder so I'm keeping a connection with my audience. And I'm going to take prepare, release, prepare, release, prepare, release, step forward, turn back the way that I've come, and I'm back around and with you again. So I've got hip, drop, hip, drop, hip, drop, turn around, hip, drop, hip, drop, turn around. And you can add some variety in here, maybe turn back around, add in a little shoulder shimmy, and then you're away with your hip drops again, little turn, little shoulder shimmy, and hip drops. Here we go. Ta-da! So already you can begin to see there's lots of different ways that you can use your hip drops to add some variety and some excitement to your dancing. We can also use our hip drops to turn around on the spot where we are. So if we take our hip drop, and rather than replace our foot here, we just take it a little tiny bit back. So a little tiny bit back, and the heel here is going to be like a little pivot to turn on. So my weight is going to go through my heel, my toes are going to lift, and I'm going to turn a tiny bit. The same thing, another hip drop, little tiny step back, little pivot on the heel. Hip drop, step back, pivot. Hip drop, step back, pivot. Hip drop, step back, pivot, hip drop, step back, pivot, hip drop, step back, pivot, and we're back to where we started. So let me show you how that movement would work. So we've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 to change other side. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8, and rest. So the key thing with that movement is that time I was turning backwards. So that's really just my choice. It feels natural and comfortable to me. You could turn forwards, but it makes me feel like I'm pulling myself around, whereas backwards just feels nice and easy and relaxed. So let's try that movement once more with me facing away from you. So starting here, we've got hip drop, release, step back, pivot on the back heel. Repeat, pivot on the back heel. And again, and 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, and change on 8, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, and rest on 8. Okay, so you've got 2 ideas for using your hip drops there. You can take your hip drop, 2, 3, and turn, 1, 2, 3, and turn. And you can add in your little shoulder shimmy there if you want to add some excitement and variety. So now I would really recommend that you go and look for a little bit of party music, a bit of Arabic pop music, where you can just try some hip drops on the spot. So you could maybe do a few hip drops on each side, and then you might want to throw in a couple of turns to add some excitement to your dancing, and maybe even go from there into a backwards turn. So there you go. Find your favourite poppy piece of music, have a practice, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video. Bye-bye.